Call me at my J.O. Come now, I can't say no.
Radio Waterloo is at it again. This Saturday and Sunday, join volunteers at CKMS-FM in our booth at the Multicultural Festival in Kitchener's Willow River Park, also known as Victoria Park. We'll be doing shows live to air from noon to 6 p.m. Meet your favorite DJs, do a station ID, and maybe sign up to do your own show. Grand River Transit is free this weekend, so come down from all corners of Waterloo region to the Multicultural Festival for live to air on CKMS-FM 102.7 Radio Waterloo.
Hi, I'm Jun Sung, a lead actor in UW's Immolation, and you're listening to 102.7 CKMS-FM in the Kitchener-Waterloo region.
Standing up against racism is an ongoing battle. How will you help?
I will employ an intersectional anti-racist lens to support the racialized community as they exercise their human rights.
I will refuse to be silenced, and I will help others raise their voices against hate.
I will listen, learn, speak up, and take action.
This message is brought to you by the Canadian Anti-Racism Youth Coalition. Visit caryc.ca for more information about how you can stand up and speak out.
That was Wake Up and Rise by Diggin' Roots. You're listening to CKMS 102.7 Waterloo. We are Two White Feather and Lord Gentle Eagle, and this is the Red Road Journey, where we aim to amplify Indigenous voices to heal ourselves, all our relations, our communities, and our planet. We are broadcasting you from the traditional territories of the neutral Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. Today we're on the Red Road Journey, where we're putting the spotlight on our young youth, adults who have things to say. They are all agents of change in their own right. What an amazing thing. We met our first youth after learning about his involvement in motorsports from his proud grandparents. And I mean, they were really proud of him. They were talking up about him and everything at the craft show that we attended. Landon Moore is an 11-year-old boy of Métis background from Lambton County. So we're going to play his recording, and here it is.
Miigwech, thank you for joining us on the Red Road Journey. We heard about you from your grandparents who we spoke with the with at an Indigenous crafts market recently. We were selling some beadwork to support you with your racing efforts. Lyndon Moore of Landon Moore Racing. So, can you tell us more about yourself? Age, where you live, are you Métis too?
Yeah.
Yeah? Right on. So, what is Micro Spirit Racing?
It's kind of like a go-kart with wings and a roll cage.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So it's a smaller race car, really, right? And is it for dirt or for pavement?
It's for asphalt.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So, how did you get interested in racing?
Just going to Delaware and Sunset, watching Brian Batty from Batty Motorsports.
Oh, right on. That's so cool. So, I guess that goes into who do you have as a role model that steered you in this direction?
It's probably the same person that got me into racing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've heard of him, and he's a good guy. So, can you describe what your car looks like?
Like a go-kart. It has like a bunch of old bars, roll cage.
Okay.
2 wings on the top.
Wow.
2 door panels.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
There's a nose and a tail.
Yeah. What color is your car?
Black, yellow, and red.
Black, yellow, and
the
red.
The main color is black.
Oh, right on. So is that your logo colors type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. So, did you have any part in building your race car?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you like? What have you learned to do with cars?
Go fast, go around the track, try not to hit the wall.
No doubt. I like your spirit. That's a true race car spirit right there. So, what part do you like best, racing or working on cars?
It's hard to choose.
Yeah, no doubt.
Taking apart the cars to build a new car for the next season is pretty fun, and racing around the half-mile track and ground bend is pretty fun too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or quarter-mile, sorry.
Oh yeah. So what's the distance do you usually do when you race? How many laps do you usually do on, say, a half-mile track?
It's a quarter-mile track.
Oh, quarter mile, sorry.
I think it's around 25, 30 laps.
Really? Wow. That's amazing.
I think there's 3 races plus the 2 practices.
Okay, right on. So what is your next project for you that's on your agenda? Is it to build
just to get the nose, our nose, the tail, and my pit box up to Mount Forest to get it painted at the body shop.
Oh, right on. So that's gonna look so sweet. I saw a picture of your car, your current race car right now, and it looks amazing. It looks so fun too. Like, I had a question. How fast can those go up to?
75 kilometers per hour, I think. There's miles.
Oh, wow. That's
kilometers.
That's amazing. Wow. That goes pretty fast. I wouldn't have thought that they'd go that fast, but that's pretty good. Wow. So, who can people support you? How can people support you?
If they can, keep all their beer cans, pop cans, and beer bottles.
Okay, so
they can bring them over.
Yeah,
if they can bring them over, we can go grab them.
Okay.
And we count them, bring them back to the beer store, and get the money.
Right on. So I'll put out a post for you for looking out for empties and beer cans and stuff like that for you, so that maybe we can get that going for you, and you can collect some here in Cambridge and Kitchener too then, okay? So I'll put out a post for that for you, and I really like what you're doing. So was there a reason for the Batman beaded design by your grandma with her business? Men's Way Indigenous.
I think what she said with the Batman logo, that she's beating.
Yeah.
Some of the money that she gets from them, she gives to me for the racing, and the reason it's a bat is because that's our mascot for our racing.
Oh.
Because the person that owns the race shop, his last name is Batty.
Yep.
So they just came up with a bat for our logo.
That's cool. That's cool. I saw your grandma at one of the craft shows, like I was saying earlier, and I seen the picture of it, or seen them, and those look so cool. So, how can people get those from you, and how support you?
I think you would have to go. I think she might be selling them online, or maybe she's just selling them at her craft shows that she goes to.
Okay, and how much are they?
I think they're $20.
$20 a piece? Oh, right on. So, we are making a gift for you to share. It's a bike wheel dream catcher for inspiration to our listeners today with your story. And I would like to say thank you for coming on and, explaining a little bit on what you do and some more little bit of information there for you from you, and how we can support you. So that's amazing on what you do. I just love that you're into racing and in all that. That's crazy. That's amazing. I love that. So thank you.
Wow, that was our one of our youth, Landon Moore. So like he said, he wanted to be collecting cans and pop cans and stuff like that. And to be honest, Landon, I think you got probably a good $20-$30 sitting at our house right now in pop cans, and I mean there's probably 3 bins of empties, and counting. And so we'll get those to you or at some point. And I am going around at night when it's recycling, and I'm collecting them for you from now on. So you'll have a lot more and of pop cans and empties. So we'll get all those to you eventually. But you can support Landon Moore Micro Spirit Racing by purchasing Batman logo beadwork, pins, zipper pulls, and earrings done by his grandma through his business Maisie Way Indigenous Designs, and by saving your cans and bottles. So,
and good afternoon, this is Gentle Eagle, and our next group of young people took to the stage as keynote speakers at Carry the Peace Conference, organized by 2 agencies in our region who are known for their amazing work with Indigenous and Black youth. That is the Healing of 7 Generations and Kind Mind Family Wellness. Autumn Peltier is a 19-year-old from Wimikong First Nation. She was attending water ceremonies with her grandmother Josephine Mandamin since she was only 8 years old. She's now 19, as I said, and she is known worldwide as a protector of the water and an advocate for the universal right to clean drinking water. So we have part of her, most of her keynote address actually, and it's going to come to you in little clips. So we're going to start things off here with what she had to say. The conference was June 10th and the 11th at Binghamans.
And I also come from from Manitoulin Island, which is the largest freshwater island in the world. I would like to acknowledge all the women today. Let's continue to find great stages to use our voice and hearts. Please keep being you, and let's continue to be in these spaces. My beginning started with water rights, as many are aware. I started using my voice at 8 years old. That's only where I began. From stages to petitions, to participation in amplifying policy, I continue to try and spread awareness about the importance of Indigenous collaboration in our futures. What do the youth have to say? Not just me, but youth at large. Long ago, I lost count of the amount of times I was passed over because I was just a kid. Kids have things to say too, and it's my belief that we give them the spaces to contribute with their ideas and thoughts more often. There are so many youth-led movements, and too often they are set aside for an agenda for profit and greed. My advocacy may inspire others, but it also inspires me because I continue to fortunately use my voice in wider spaces with great individuals like all of you here today. I wondered what message I could deliver to many of you here, and what stuck are 3 things to leave with you: collaboration, youth, and what if. In a room full of people, it only takes one person to influence change. What if that one person is you? Today, I am honored to continue to carry the awareness of the importance of water, passed to me from my great aunt Josephine Buck, as well as lead advocacy and activism for Indigenous peoples and a voice for young children behind me. And also a key message: collaboration together. Today, we live in an ever more connected world. We have access to information immediately. The problem with this is that we also live in an ever more connected past. Children and youth are able to learn hard truths and the disrespect of our lands. Our youth are watching us, and they are really listening. At the height of COVID, society was told, be sure to wash your hands, yet so many First Nations communities didn't and still don't have access to clean water to even wash their hands. Right here near major centers, 45 minutes from here, there are children still growing up believing boiling water to use is normal. I hope to leave this message, if nothing else. What about tomorrow's generation? Do we care about TikTok trends and selfies more than a sustainable offering for the next generation? Passing our traditional knowledge to the next generation. What opportunities are we leaving for children coming behind us? I speak to leaders all around the world, and what I hope for is more collaboration. So in closing, what if? What if you shook the hand of the person behind you and said hello? What if we all started to smile more often and listen to everyone around us? I believe it's your what if that could possibly influence something we will be talking about tomorrow. And never forget that water is life. Iglench, thank you.
So we're going to hear a little bit more from Autumn Pelche in a minute. This time she'll be talking about mental health in particular and how she keeps well. But I think that's really good advice, and I know we're broadcasting out to the Multicultural Festival today. So, when you are walking around Willow River Park there, do what she has said, right? Shake the hand of a friend, introduce yourself, and really think hard and reflect on the what ifs, right? Those positive ripple effects and, what you can do to make the world a better place for everyone. So I'm just going to find her next little clip here for you. All right.
Well, balancing mental health and well-being is a very large portion of definitely being in the public eye and being a public figure. It's definitely challenging. It's definitely not an easy job, and having to manage your mental health is so important because I find that, yes, it's good to be super involved in what you're passionate about and what you're working towards and in your workspaces, but no matter what job you're working or what exactly you're doing, whether it be being an employee at a company or being an advocate who speaks on stages, you have to find a healthy balance between your work and your passion and things you enjoy doing aside from that. And so I find that having things like spending time with my peers or my sister or my cat, even is so important for like managing mental health and well-being, like being involved in spaces that require so much of your like, I don't know how to explain it, but like so much like, it can be very taxing on your like mental health and well-being, so when it requires that much, it's so important to keep that balance between things you enjoy doing and your work.
What would be one of your most favorite spots of peace and quiet?
I would say my favorite spot of peace and quiet would be my house. Because like, I don't really find that I can find that same peace and quiet other than just at my house, in my own personal space. And like, valuing my personal space is so important to me because as someone who is constantly traveling and is never really home, it feels so good to be home when you are there. And even though it can be boring, it's just like having that boring time is actually really important, aside from like being so busy and working. And I would also say, on top of that, it's the spaces that I also like to go into, so like doing my extracurricular activities. Like, for example, I work out, I bodybuild on my hobbies on the side, and I find that that's something you also need at the same time. Like, it's when I kind of talk about and highlight needing something aside from work, you need things you enjoy doing, like bodybuilding or working out or going for a run. And so also valuing my physical health is kind of how I manage my mental health and well-being at the same time.
Next question. You talk a lot about listening to our youth. Who do you feel is listening to the youth today? And where do you feel the youth voices are needed the most?
I feel like where youth are being heard the most are by other youth, actually. Because as a young person who is in spaces where there's not so much people my age, and there's not many youth in those spaces, I think that when I do see another youth, it's like my eyes are immediately to them, my ears are immediately to them, because like, okay, there's another young person here. I wonder what they have to say. I wonder what they're talking about. I wonder how they feel about what's going on. So it's like when I see other youth in spaces, I know that I'm automatically also seeing them and hearing them. So I think that's like, in my opinion, who I hear the most and I feel like is heard the most. So,
how many times in your life have you been told you're just a kid?
I don't know the exact number.
Like a billion?
Probably a good amount of times.
And today, right now, how stronger do you feel that you get it?
I don't think that it's necessarily like anything that really changed about the structure of like how youth are accepted in these spaces, but I think the fact that I'm being now accepted a bit more in these spaces was only because I'm getting older, rather than being accepted because of my age at this given time.
What enabled you to become more involved in advocacy in addition to being a water activist and water protector?
When I talk about my journey of kind of how I became a water activist and I started talking about the sacredness of water, I'm now kind of labeled as like an Indigenous rights activist rather than a water activist. More so because I like to acknowledge that the reason that I know Indigenous rights and would love to advocate for Indigenous rights, I acknowledge that the reason I'm able to think that way is simply because I learned about my teachings and my culture, and I simply learned about the sacredness of water and what that meant to me. And throughout the many years that I've been doing this, I've been speaking since I was 8 years old, and I'm going to be 20 years old soon. And that's a very long time. And in the time that I've done that, of course, I started off talking about the sacredness of water and the importance of it in these spaces, advocating for clean drinking water. But you learn that the issue is so much more than just clean drinking water issues. It's a part of the problem, and there's a bigger root cause as to why we have clean drinking water issues in Canada. And so, me being now labeled as an Indigenous rights activist has been an extremely long learning journey, and I now talk about things like missing murder, Indigenous women, racism, discrimination, inequality, injustice in the criminal justice system, and whatever it may be that surrounds Indigenous rights. That's what I talk about now, because I now feel passionate about advocating on that level in any way that I can, because the issue is much greater than just clean drinking water issues for First Nations people.
What are you taking in university, and where do you feel you might be able to best apply what you're learning?
So I actually just finished my first year of university, and I'm currently in summer school, but I will be going into my second year this coming September, and I chose to study criminology, and that's very different compared to kind of what I'm mainly known for and speaking for, but to me, it goes exactly with it, because I started to become very passionate and learn a lot more about like missing and murdered Indigenous women, and personally I have been impacted by the MMIW crisis, and I know many people who have also been impacted by the MMIW crisis, so it's something that really stuck out to me. And when you think about our issues in a criminological perspective, there's so much that we need to like dismantle, and there's so many areas within like solving our like the systemic issues that we face. And so I also am passionate about studying criminology to further enhance my knowledge and my opinions regarding the MMIW crisis.
How easy was it?
Okay, and I've got a little bit left on another clip from her, but, some amazing stuff that we've heard so far, and I think it's really interesting because the jingling that you hear in the background is actually from the jingle dress dancers that were there. And for those of you who aren't aware, the jingle dress dance is all about healing. So it was nice to have that, coincidentally, really, happening in the background as Autumn was speaking, all about, healing our waters and addressing all of the issues facing our First Nations friends. So here we go with just the last little bit that she has to say.
I think a better future looks like not having to ask and not having to actually advocate and use our voices in the way that we do. Like, yes, of course it's great to use our voice and stand up and inspire everyone and each other, but we shouldn't have to be doing that no matter our age. Whether that's someone who's in their elderly years, who is a full-grown adult, or someone who is a youth, we shouldn't have to speak up for our Indigenous rights. Those are things that we should just have. And what we're speaking up for isn't rocket science. It's not complicated. We're asking for basic human rights. We're asking for clean drinking water. We're asking for our women to not be missing and murdered. We're asking for simple things that aren't that complicated. So I think that a future to me would look like not having to do that. Not having to speak up here right now and talk about our Indigenous rights and how we don't have them. So I think that equality and justice for our people is what a future looks like for me.
My business partner, Brian Porter, who's the founder of Seeing Red Media, for anyone that's seen that company, and one of the heads of Dream Path Charitable Foundation and Sixth Nation, says on his keynotes, one day he'll feel his job is done when he's not in front of a microphone having to talk about it. I think we can leave it there. I don't know. Yeah. And thank you everybody for listening and being here. And let's keep using our voice.
I think a better...
Amazing stuff.
Yes, it is. So Gemma Maxey identifies as an Afro-Indigenous. He was born near White Bear First Nations in Saskatchewan, eh? And he grew up in the foster care system in Toronto, too. He speaks about what it took from him and overcome challenges to reclaim his identity. So we're going to play another interview. It is about 18 minutes long. And I listen to him and I love him, too. So we're just getting it up and running here.
So here's Jamma, and he's Afro-Indigenous. So he's talking about how he came to know both aspects of his life and how that shaped his identity.
I guess it's still morning. I was asked to speak at this conference. I'm very excited. I love kind of what I'm seeing right now, and I'm seeing the blend between two drumming circles right now. I'm seeing
the African drumming and the indigenous drumming. So for those of you who don't know, I'm what is called Afro-Indigenous, so I'm half African and half Black, or half African, half Indigenous. So why that's really important to me is because this conference is really a blend between my two identities. I think I had a conversation before about the, thank you so much, about the drumming circle, how, they're going to sit on one side of the drums, and I'm like, I don't know what side to sit on. Do I sit on the African side or the indigenous side? Really where I started getting into speaking was speaking about my life, and I think that's a gift, for those of you who are going through something right now, going through anxiety, going through depression, going through anything in life. What I want to take away from this conference for people to take is that, really there is no excuse. And I know that's a cliche. Many people say that oftentimes, your parents probably tell you you can do anything, and that's kind of the after-school special message. But I'll try and explain to you in a good way of why you really can do anything by telling my story. So my journey began in a small town outside of Regina, Saskatchewan. So I'm from White Bear First Nations. I'm Nakota Sioux. So the Sioux people, we are kind of in Montana, North Dakota area, but we migrated up into Saskatchewan. And so I was born without a father on my birth certificate. I was born with an alcoholic mother. And what that looked like for me is, even before I was on this earth, I was already facing these systemic issues that, a lot of people don't have to think about. We think about our mom and our dad. I came here, I don't have my mom and my dad. I don't have my mom and dad sitting there holding my hand saying, go speak, Jeremy, go get her. I've never had that sort of support in my life, but that's the takeaway message is that, you really can do anything without anything, and that's really my story is, as they say, start from nothing. So after I was born, we moved to Toronto, and very quickly my life became involved with foster care. You guys know what foster care is. Hopefully you've seen some movies, or you know what that is. So me and my mom got incarcerated, and then so at that time we went into foster care, and I have two siblings, and I got split up from my siblings. So if you have brothers and sisters, I hope you give them a hug today, because that was taken away from me in my childhood. I didn't get to grow up with my older brother or my older sister. We think of those things as God-given rights, but really they're not. There's many kids that I've grown up with in the system that didn't get to grow up with their brother or their sister. You should cherish it if you really do have it. So, growing up, really, after I entered foster care, because my mom, had her struggles, addiction, incarceration. She's also, so my cookum, my grandma, she went to Gordon Residential School in Saskatchewan, and if you guys, look up Gordon Residential School, and I'm not going to get into details of what happened, but there's some really sick people in this world, and they do sick things to people that I can't even comprehend why anyone would do something like that, but Indigenous people were severely abused, their culture taken away. I don't have to tell you all the details, but you guys know what happened. And so my mom didn't have a mom, and even to this day, we still have that disconnect, right? Because when you're not loved by your mom in a certain way, there's going to be an element of that you take on, right? And so my mom never really hugged me or told me, I love you, Jamma, or any of these sort of things that are expected from a mother figure. And that's because in residential schooling, they take that away from you, right? There's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of pain. So growing up, when I was in, child welfare, I always share this memory because, when we talk about identity is so important. My first moment of, realizing my identity and stuff, especially because, I had white foster parents, and as you can see, I'm definitely not white. So I was kind of confused. I was a little guy growing up, and I just remember thinking, what's going on here? Everyone looks different. But, at that age you really don't know psychologically what's going on. But my first memory of just realizing how messed up my world is I was in the neighborhood with this young girl. She was probably a couple years older than me, and we were doing laundry in the laundry machine in the laundry area, and those commercials they used to say, like, donate today $1 a day, you can save, you can adopt an African or whatever it was back in the day. I don't know if they still do those. So that commercial came on, and this young girl had said to me, I'm about like 6, 7 years old, like I'm young, you know what I mean? And she goes, Jamie, that's our people. And I said, what do you mean our people? I was like, I thought Sue and Jim were my mommy and daddy, And she put her skin up against mine. She said, Gemma, you're black. Those aren't your real parents. You're a foster kid. And that's when I realized, like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? And I that day, it's a silly story, but that's kind of how, like, I found out, like, how messed up my life is. That's how I felt. Like, I felt so indifferent. And another story I share is, my first time understanding Indigenous culture, understanding my Indigenous identity. I had an older foster brother. For older people in the room, did anyone remember the movie VHS movies? Some people don't know what VHS is. Right? What's VHS? There's a movie called Indian in the Cupboard. It was like an old VHS film, so old people were like, yeah, I remember. So I was watching that with my older foster brother, and he put it on for me, and I was like, yo, those Native people, they're cool, man. Like, my foster mom, she says I'm Native. Like, where do I find all those people, And I remember him telling me, Gemma, they're all, we're all dead, and we killed them all, and he just told me that, and I started crying instantly. Like, I was like, what do you mean, like, my people are dead? And I ran upstairs in my foster mom's arms and just started crying. And I say that story because a little part of me died that day. A little part of me died that day. I, realized that I was indifferent with my Afro-Indigenous identity. And, I grew up feeling so ashamed of who I was, ashamed of my identity, because I got taught that who I was is, sort of not the winner, right? And today, I strive every day to be a winner. And going through foster care, I suffered immensely with the abuse that I went through, and I went through all 3 forms of major abuse, physical, mental, and sexual abuse in the foster care system. And the reason I share that is because these are tattoos. Like, you get a tattoo, it gets stuck on your skin, and these are tattoos that are stuck in my memory. And growing up, getting treated that way, you just feel little, right? And some days I still feel little. But, I definitely, little Gemma felt very little because people had hurt him. I never felt like, I felt like my skin was 2 sizes too big and I couldn't fit in and all those sorts of things. And when I was getting to my adolescence years, everyone in my life always told me, Gemma, don't ever drink alcohol. And I don't know, when you tell someone don't do something, you're just like, I'm going to do it. It's like, don't go on this roller coaster. I wanted it. So when I was in my adolescence, I remember I started drinking very young, and just because I had so much pain, I talked about that trauma, and it tasted like medicine to me because it took away that feeling of irregular, and so when I started using drugs and alcohol, I was very young, and I had a lot of problems, but I had a very good social worker who I still speak to this day, and he never gave up on me. That's really why, and he instilled, like, you can do this, right? And I had many social workers before, but he was different. He was different in many different ways. One of the moments that I remember with him is I always hated talking about getting suspended. Like, if I got suspended at school, which I was getting suspended a lot, I was not talking about it. Like, it was like, nah, just do my suspensions, stay in my room. And he came to see me. We call it child welfare plan of care, and he's like, Gemma, what happened at school today? And he's a big guy. He's like 6'3". He's a big dude. And he's my new worker. And I'm not talking to you, man. Like, I don't talk to anyone, therapist, whatever. And he's like, well, we're gonna talk about what happened at school today, Gemma. And And I was like, I told him where to go with some not so nice, kind words that I'm not going to repeat. And I ran down my room, slammed my door, and I'm sitting there and I'm all angry. And he said, well, I remember him when I'm going downstairs, and he's like, I'm not leaving until we talk. And when people say that, usually, and adults in my life, they're just jibber-jabber. They don't actually mean anything. I was in my room for a couple hours, and, I figured after a couple hours, obviously this guy has a family, so I've got something to do. It's past 5 o'clock. Supper's at home, and I walked upstairs, and he was still on that couch. And the reason I, share that is because, at 12-year-old me, everyone gave up on me. And Marlon didn't give up on me. And I was like, what are you still doing here, man? He said, I believe in you. Like, we're going to talk about it. And I talked to him that day, and, I wish I took his advice when I was younger, and, didn't go down the drugs and alcohol path. And, you can, honestly, I'm not listening to drugs and alcohol talk, but I'll just say this, I have a lot of people that aren't here today because they went down that path, and they could easily be on the stage with me. And, I chose to go down that path, and it took me down a path of homelessness, a path of poverty, a path of suicidal ideation, mental health, depression, anxiety, paranoia, the list goes on. And in September 24, 2018, I wanted to change, and I tried to go to college before, and I dropped out, and I couldn't do it because, all these voices in my head said, Jammer, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. No one in my family has ever been to college. No one in my family actually has graduated high school. I come from a lot of problems. You just start to believe when you're a problem. And that day when I, had my last drink and drug, I knew something was going to be different this time. And I enrolled in Georgian College, and I enrolled in the social service work program, and I graduated with academic honors. Growing up, I had a learning disability, right? And so, I had one young person not too long ago saying, she was saying, I was showing her my apartment, because I have an apartment now. I was homeless, right? It was pretty cool to have an apartment. But what she said to me is I could do school too if I had this kind of environment. It's quiet in my apartment, and then my cat running around. And she said that to me, and I think it's important because we always make excuses, right? We always tell ourselves, if I had this, I would be doing that. If I had that, I'd be doing that. And she had no idea about my past. And she didn't know that when I first started school, I was living in a crack house. I had to put a towel underneath my door so that smell wasn't coming in my room. So when people assume things about individuals, and we assume things, everything's so easy, I had a learning disability, I would just make a goal to myself, I'm going to read 5 pages out of the book today. 5 pages, because, reading was hard for me. And then next week would be 10, and the next week would be 15, and, all of a sudden now I'm graduating with honors, I'm getting 80s, I'm getting 90s. And after I finished in college, I went to the university, and I tried to change paths, and that's because of, my goals, right? And what I realized a lot is, so I started off with social work. Now my career focus is on psychology. And the reason for that is, social work, you have to deal with politicians. I don't like politicians. So I'm more focused on the individual, right? And I think society, does play a part in why I ended up where I was, but it's also I played a part, and that's what I learned in going through the recovery process is that I'm the problem, and the world was never the problem for me, and the world is not the problem for you. If you continue to think the victim mindset, one of the things I used to tell my parents, anyone who tried to help me, well, if you had my life, if you looked like me, if you were black or native, or you would do the life that I'm doing right now. And the problem with that is that there's no room for solution with that sort of statement. If you're a youngster saying, well, it's all the world's fault. There's no upward aim towards that sort of statement, and it's really important to recognize that I played a part. Yes, people hurt me, but by being the victim, I'm stuck. It's like putting your foot in, quicksand. You're only going down. I'm already in pain, so why don't I use this pain to do something? And today I use my pain to do something. I graduated with my psychology degree at York, and I'm now entering my master's and my subsequent PhD.
So Gemma makes reference to the drum groups that were present. We are going to play some of their amazing beats. So here they are. Yeah, hook ya! Hook ya! Here they are. Hook ya! That was Nijas Merdin, master African Caribbean drummer, singer, performer, holistic health therapist. Now, I want to say I'm sorry if I got your name wrong there. I'm not too good with sounding stuff out. I have trouble with, reading and language. So I hope I said your name right. If I don't, I'm sorry. But
yeah, and I just wanted to say too, I know it was kind of hard to hear him, but if you ever have the opportunity to sit in a drumming circle, whether it's, African or Indigenous, it's an amazing feeling. This particular individual there, Negus, he is also a holistic health therapist out of Toronto, and I swear the energy changed in the room. At the end he was having people all sing "I'm feeling good," and yeah, the vibes of the drumming was just amazing, and he was really experiential. He tried to involve as much of the audience as possible in it all, but yeah, pretty cool. And Isaac's now going to play another drum group, and this one's local. Actually, it's Spirit Nation Singers.
So yeah, this is Spirit Nation Singers, a second generation family group from our region. Hook ya! Members from Saugeen, That's my reserve, Saugeen First Nation, number 29. Hook ya! And Whitefish River out of Wapaskee. That's where one of my buddies live. And Six Nations. Hook ya! So here they are. Hook ya! Hook ya! So that was our young brothers and sisters playing and drumming and singing. They were amazing. Hook ya! So if you're interested in going, you can go. That was Spirit Nation Singers, second generation, like I said, and you can go to the Healing of Seven Generations in Kitchener on Fredericton Street and talk to Scott. Scott, sorry.
Scott Stevens.
Scott Stevens. I got those two.
And to think, they're somewhat related. Yes. My goodness, Scott Stevens.
So Scott Stevens, and I believe they drum Wednesdays, and I think... Wednesdays, isn't
Not
it?
sure.
I think it's Wednesdays, but if you need, just call ahead and double check with Healing in the Seven Generations, and you can connect with him there and come out to the drum circles, and it's just an amazing feeling to go. Lots of energy. Hook ya!
Okay, so the entertainment that was headlining the Carry the Peace conference was two-time Juno award-winning artist Ace Anabi. He's an Ojibwe Cree man from Sandy Lake First Nation. His name actually means the people. And he shared an intimate acoustic version of a song that he wrote about his grandfather, Wotton, who passed away in 2023. And in fact, his first album he named Wotton after his grandfather, which was a really important thing for him to do and also for his grandfather to hear because, of course, his name Wotton was taken away from him, as well as many aspects of his identity because of residential schools. So this was reclaiming in so many ways for a couple of generations there. Ace Anabi spent time with Wotton, his grandfather, as his health was failing due to Alzheimer's. And he told us in the workshop that he, really wanted to spend this time with him to capture whatever memories he could of his family and help, reclaim the identity that was lost. Ace Anabi, he says he looks to music and has been since he was 12 years old to help him process the world. So the song that we're going to play for you is actually his grandfather's story. So this is Ace Anabi. The song is called We Were Here.